Hello there, people of the internet, and hello there, YouTube reviewer. No, I am not showing any sort of firearms modification on this video, nor am I showing people how to modify firearms. I am simply going to talk about it and give my take on it. So, let's go ahead and dive right into that. Anytime I make a video talking about old school military surplus firearms and how some of them have been sporterized and modified, I talk about why that is, and just going to give a very quick run through here. Back in the day, whenever these rifles were being surplused out, it was cheaper to buy yourself like a worn out military surplus rifle, which was, you know, all over the place, very predominant during that particular time period, and then hack it up and customize it to be a more fitting hunting rifle. It was just simply more economic to do something like that. Now, modern day, since this is, 80 years later past the point of things like that happening, these rifles have become collectibles, and we've really began to admire the history and the provenance of these rifles and what they have done and what they have seen. So in modern times, customizing these old school military surplus firearms is definitely not something that a lot of people in the gun community smile on. It's something that we oftentimes frown on, as a matter of fact. But even then, I will get a bunch of people, whenever I talk about this particular subject, I'll get a bunch of people in my comments, and a bunch of people, whenever I'm talking about it in real life, they'll tell me, well, it's my rifle, so I'm going to do whatever I want with it. And I'm like, yeah, this is definitely your rifle. And this right here is my example of a military surplus rifle, but insert your choice of military surplus rifle here, whether or not it's a M1 Garand, Garand, however it is you want to pronounce that, or a Mosin Nagant, or a Carcano, however it is you want to pronounce that, or an old Mauser rifle, or whatever the choice is. Yeah, if you go out and you buy this rifle, guess what? It is yours, and yeah, you have every right to do whatever you want with it. However, guess what? Before it was yours, this rifle, not this rifle, but the rifle, the military surplus firearm that you have bought, has a century or even more worth of history behind it, and it has various other owners behind it, and that rifle has seen and done a dramatic amount of incredible things long before it became your rifle, before it got within your hand. This rifle that you are receiving, that is becoming your rifle, has either defended homelands, invaded places, protected the free world. The rifle has traveled across continents, soldiers carrying it on foot. It has done some amazing things. It has protected people. It has destroyed places. It was carried by people who would use this rifle for absolutely incredible things all throughout history. The provenance of these old school military surplus rifles is absolutely insane whenever you consider just how much these rifles have gone through. And the people that had them before you did, the people who use these rifles in this configuration for that particular historic event, these incredibly brave people willing to lay down their lives for the cause that they believed in were using these rifles for whatever situation it is that they were doing, up to and over a century ago, before this rifle became your rifle that you decide to hack up and deface and defile just so you can take it out deer hunting more comfortably. Yeah, it is your gun. But guess what? It is your gun, and you get to decide whether or not you want to destroy it or if you want to protect it. The unbelievable amount of time and stories and history and dramatic effort that went into the manufacture of these firearms, and that went into the continued manufacture of these firearms. Look at Mauser and everything they had to deal with, not only in the First and Second World War, but everything in between, and all the nonsense that went on with Mauser, and how just look at the history behind the Mauser rifle in general. 1891, and from 1891 to the 1898, just all that development and whatnot, and all that provenance that goes on there. My God, the incredible stories behind some of those old rifles is absolutely insane. And that rifle, like I said, has been around and has been in other hands besides yours, And now, yeah, it is yours. And you can cut up the stock if you want. You can take off the, cut off the front of the barrel, take off the sights. You can drill out the receiver and mount a scope to it if you want, just so you have a more comfortable rifle to take out hunting. But a lot of these military surplus rifles nowadays are a lot more money than they used to be. And for the amount of money that you would spend on an old school military surplus rifle, which is definitely a collectible nowadays, you could get yourself a very nice, modern style, already set up hunting rifle and a modern caliber that you can definitely use very effectively. And with one of these modern rifles, you can customize this thing however you want. This is just a Winchester Model 70, I think, chambered in 270. I actually made a video about this, bought it off a buddy of mine a while back. If you're interested, go ahead and go watch that video. But you can throw on whatever stock you want onto this thing. You can throw on whatever size or whatever style of scope that you want on this thing. You can literally go out and set yourself up to be able to throw on some iron sights onto this thing. You can do whatever you want to this rifle. And not only will it be easier because the parts on the market for customization of rifles like this are numerous and modern production, but these rifles do not have any sort of significant historical provenance. I mean, this one kind of does because of the person I got it from and how it's kind of his family heirloom and whatnot, but that's kind of a personal provenance as opposed to a significant historical event such as some of these military surplus rifles have gone through. Nobody cares if you decide to grab this thing and customize it, do it to your heart's content. Yeah, this right here is something that a lot of the gun community would actually smile on if you have a fully customized, decked out Winchester Model 70 or Remington 700 or insert your pick of modern bolt-action rifle here. But a lot of people would be very upset if you took a historical rifle like this and butchered it just for your own desires, your own viewpoints. If you don't care about the history and provenance of that particular rifle, my recommendation would be not to spend a whole bunch of money on getting a military surplus rifle and just get yourself a modern production rifle. Most of the time when people buy these old school military surplus rifles, it's because they want one of these old school military surplus rifles for one reason or another, more often than not because of the historical significance. So if you do not care about the historical significance, then don't get one of these. Especially if you are just going to cut it up and whatnot to make it easier for you to use. Because guess what? That rifle is going to be around whenever you are gone. Just like the previous owners who have had this rifle that carried it through literal hell and back. That rifle is going to exist whenever you are gone. And that rifle will have been butchered and destroyed by you during your lifetime and your generation. All of what that rifle has done and seen and been through are now negated because you decided to go ahead and turn that rifle into something that is more convenient for you rather than go out and get yourself something cheaper and easier to get your hands on and modern production and going to be more accurate and more easily customized. Just customizing military surplus firearms, it doesn't make any sense nowadays. It really does not. And I am not against you modifying a firearm if it makes it more convenient for you and more convenient for your particular setup. Like for example, if you have yourself a old, bolt action rifle that's not a military surplus firearm, let's say it's an old, I don't know, insert your choice of Winchester sporting rifle here, right? And maybe it's just got iron sights on it and you want to drill and tap the receiver to mount a scope on it, then by all means go ahead. Nobody is going to be against you doing that. That rifle does not have any significant provenance behind it. Especially if you are like me and blind and having a scope to be able to see out to longer distances would be extremely beneficial. I know one of my big issues with iron sights is the fact that I just can't see out at these long ranges. So like beyond 100 yards is about my max effective range with iron sights, and that's just my limitation. If I have a scope on my rifle, then I can go ahead and hit out at significantly longer distances depending on the scope that I'm using. But I would not, that would not be an adequate excuse for me to deface this century-old rifle just so things are easier on me whenever I can go out and get myself a rifle that would immediately be easier on me that has no historical significance behind it. And honestly, it really sucks because I definitely prefer iron sights over having some kind of optic. That's just how I am. I like the iron sight system better. And it looks like my steel has fallen down, and of course I forgot to put it back up before I came out here to film this. So I'm gonna see if I can hit the steel. I cannot promise I hit the steel. This right here is Turkish 155 grain projectiles, and it should be traveling at around 3,000 feet per second, which is an insane speed for a 150 grain projectile. God damn. And boy, does it have some recoil behind it. I think I hit the steel. I'd like to convince myself of that. Of course, I cannot guarantee it, but I'd like to convince myself of that. I also hear Kevin screaming in the background. Kevin's my peacock. I got 4 of them. They're all named Kevin. Welcome to the channel. But ultimately, it is your rifle, so it is your choice. And there's nothing that any of us can do about it. If you decide to buy yourself a rifle and deface it, then, like I said, there's nothing that any of us can do about it. And a lot of times, these defaced rifles are defaced to the point to where you cannot bring them back to life. For example, I got a 6.5 Carl Gustaf rifle, and it is extremely customizing. I got people telling me, hey, throw that thing in an appropriate stock and uncustomize that thing, unsporterize it, bring it back to its original historical state. And I'm like, well, unfortunately I cannot do that. On that particular rifle, the receiver's been drilled and tapped, so I can't use the receiver because the receiver is set up for a scope mount. The barrel has been cut, so I can't use the barrel. The stock is completely different. There's no sights on the thing. There's no anything. The bolt has been customized, and it's been, what would I call it, serrated to make the bolt handling a little bit easier on that rifle. In theory, in reality, it kind of sucks. Like everything on that rifle has been redone, and there's nothing left there to unsporterize. So that rifle, despite the fact that it is a significant historical piece of military history, it no longer is. It definitely no longer is. Anyway, folks, let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. Anytime anyone tells me, you know, hey, I have this old school bolt action rifle that I'm gonna hack away at in order to, you know, make myself whatever XYZ sporter I want. Yeah, that kind of makes my skin crawl, guy. That's not something that a lot of us smile upon. In fact, that's something that a lot of us frown upon in the gun community. Don't take out the historical rifles. Go out and get yourself something like this that you can customize to your heart's content. No one's going to care about it. It doesn't even have to be anything like this. If you're talking, you know, modern stuff, if you have one of those modern style modular AR platforms, customize that thing however you want. I really don't care. Throw optic and red dot and iron sights and flashlight, laser mount slings, just throw the whole shebang on there. I really do not care what sort of customization you do with that, as long as it doesn't involve destroying these. Anyway, folks, like I said, let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check that out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you all in the next episode. I'm checking myself to make sure there's nothing crawling on me, because there tends to always be something crawling on me out here during this time of year. I think I'm good, though. Bye, guys. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen.
shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.